I think that North Dakota is already a no-go zone for the IDF. I'm not sure the Israeli Defense Force are like, what do you think, North or South Dakota? Where do we go?
Yeah.
Who thinks there's IDF and Mossad guys in North frickin' Dakota?
And there's 19 people living there. How many illegal immigrants could possibly be in that 19?
Right. Yeah, who's the Mossad spy? The black guy?
Yeah, and by the way, how did he get there? How did Bobby Harper end up in Olathe, North Dakota?
That's a good point.
Probably welfare.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, Bobby Harper was questioned about this. That's the obvious follow-up is, well, what do you think about this? And he says, the more the word gets out, the better chance that we can move him out. People are welcome if they're here to improve our community, but they're here to bring hate. So he's being very level-headed about the entire thing. I'd be more worried, actually.
I'd be a little more worried. Yeah, I think so. I think we should build a synagogue there. Just buy one of those cheap houses.
Oh, are you kidding me? Okay,
No.
look, we live in Los Angeles. That property's going for $5,000 a pop.
Are you kidding?
I know I can get a guy down the street be like, hey, guess what? I just bought your whole town, motherfucker. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to build the world's largest synagogue.
No.
And I'm going to hang a sign that said Mexicans and blacks welcome.
A Muslim activity center. That's what you're going to build there.
For the first time, we're going to have a synagogue that does Sharia law. Just to fuck with this Nazi.
A Nazi dad wore a Nazi uniform in court during a custody hearing. We've talked about this family before. You might recognize the guy. Oh, boy. From the picture here. His name is Heath Campbell. He's 40 years old. He is a white supremacist. He named his oldest son Adolf Hitler. And he strolled into a New Jersey courthouse yesterday dressed in the full Nazi uniform to try to convince a judge to allow him visitation rights with his toddler named Heinrich. His toddler named Heinrich. He says, prisoners get to see their children. Murderers get to see their children. What's so horrible about being a Nazi? I just want to be a dad. I just want to prove I'm a good father because I am. So what if I'm a Nazi? Who cares? Campbell and his now estranged wife, Deborah, had their 4 children taken away from them in 2010 because of charges of violence in their home. We covered that story back in 2010. So our audience who's been with us for a while might remember this family. And they showed up on authorities' radar after they publicly complained that a local ShopRite supermarket refused to write 7-year-old son Adolf Hitler's name on a cake in 2008. Their kids' names are Adolf Hitler Campbell, Heinrich Hans Campbell, and they, of course, have 2 lovely daughters, Joyce Lynn Aryan Nation Campbell. This is not an Onion story. And 5-year-old Hanslin Jeannie Campbell. All of the children were placed in foster care in one home. The 2 girls and Heinrich, named after Hitler's right-hand man, Heinrich Himmler, remain there, while little Adolf was moved to another home after allegedly causing some trouble. 3 oldest kids have been adopted since, and Campbell is being told by courts, you can't see them. You can't see them. And he showed up in his Third Reich uniform trying to get access to his children. And here's the other thing. I mentioned that he's estranged from his wife, and he showed up with this other woman. This was a very stern-looking woman, also wearing female Nazi do you call it an outfit or a uniform or
uniform.
A costume? I don't really know what you call it. A joke, yeah. And he was asked if his outfit might put off a judge, and he replied, he can look within me, not on the outside. How about I judge him? I mean, the guy wears a dress after all. Seems like a bright guy. I mean, yeah. Don't look at the outside, which is his Nazi uniform. Look at the inside, which led him to name a kid Adolf Hitler.
Well,
that's what we need to be looking at.
The only reason he's wearing that is because he wants you to see the outside.
Yeah.
But apart from the violence that apparently he and potentially his wife have committed against their kids, do you think they should have their kids taken away just because he considers himself a Nazi and named his kid, Himmler?
That's the question, right? On the one hand, you can't take children away just for beliefs if we separate out the fact that there's violence, which is what Natan's saying. On the other hand, does freedom give you the right to advocate the extermination of other people, right? When people love people who are like them or who they care about but have no empathy for others, we call them sociopaths, and that makes us question whether a sociopath is fit to be a parent.
Well, I mean, I think right off the bat, it's child abuse if you name your kid Adolf Hitler.
You think it is?
Yeah.
Flat out, it's child abuse.
Yeah, you're just
Because
setting
of what you're bringing them in their life, right?
Right, right. You're setting what you're setting them up for.
Interesting.
I don't think a good parent would or could ever do that. I think this man is a terrible parent, and it's neglect, and that's pretty much it.
I don't know what Dave is doing right now.
Do you have any response to that?
I don't disagree. I'm just not convinced that we would want to go down that road if there isn't any physical or otherwise abuse. I mean, you have parents doing a number of other crazy things that are different, but potentially just as damaging to the kid.
Like
that
teaching
I'm sure
religious
we
fundamentalism.
wouldn't agree is grounds for taking kids away.
Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. As India marks another Independence Day, what is it like to be a Muslim in India? And what is the world look like when seen through Muslim eyes? That's one of the key issues I shall explore today with actress, social activist and former MP Shabana Azmi. Shabana, let's start with how the world perceives Islam. 7 years after 2001, many people see the religion as a threat, some even fear it. How do you respond to that?
With exasperation, with anger, with hurt and with bewilderment. The fact is that Islam is not a monolith. It resides in more than 53 countries in the world and takes on the culture of the country in which it resides. So it's moderate in some, it's liberal in others, it's extremist in others, and it's, there's a whole range of Islam that's available according to the culture. But the world, particularly after September 11th, tends to view as synonymous with terror.
The sad part is it's not just Islam that's in a sense misunderstood, if not targeted, but Muslim people as well. In the West, particularly the Western media, because of the association with terror, Muslims have become figures of fear, for some figures of hate. Do you understand that or do you resent it?
I'll go back a little bit to 1992 when the Babri Masjid was demolished. I have been raised in a very liberal bohemian family in which religion has not played any part at all. For me, being a Muslim really was about Urdu, about eating biryani and wearing pararas on Eid. So the cultural aspect of me was Muslim. Otherwise, because I'm not religious, the religion didn't matter.
But then today, when in the eyes of people who don't know you,
so that's why
you're branded.
No, that's why I'm saying. And then what happened is after the riots following the Babri Masjid demolition, I suddenly had people saying, you are a Muslim, and hurling it as an accusation or treating me with Western China. Either way, it was with a self-consciousness that I had never before experienced. It was very traumatizing. And what it made me do is it made me dig my heels in and say, yes, I'm a Muslim, and what do you want to do about it? That I can see increasingly happening, particularly in the Western world. A lot of young kids today are wearing the burqa, are taking on an identity which really they don't feel, just because when you push somebody against the wall, that's what they'll come up with.
In other words, you push them and make them defiant. You make them become